Hey guys, what is up? We're back with another week of the glorious Katekyo Hitman REBORN, and we are at chapter 112. So after 111, 111, we had a bittersweet victory for Yamamoto because he beat Squallow, but at the expense that the loser had to die. So Squallow trying to still salvage the remaining of his swordsman's pride, his honor. While Yamamoto was trying to help him, he kicked him away and allowed the shark to have its meal. And that was the end of Squallow's character, okay? And you know, Yamamoto felt really bad. This is probably out of all the fights that's happened, this is probably the most tragic, okay? I believe the second most tragic one would have to be Lusaria, the very first battle. But definitely this one, it was probably the most, not only tragic, but also the most gruesome, horrendous to actually see happen. So now we get into 112, where they're now in Italy. And remember that Zanzis alluded at saying when it was the, I believe it was either the Lusaria fight or Lambo's fight, where he was basically saying like something may or may not have happened to the ninth, okay, but who knows? And this enraged both Reborn and Imitsu. So this is where Imitsu told back during that fight, it was the Lusaria fight, he told Reborn, while you watch, I'm going to head back to Italy instantly to go check out what's happening. So you have to remember also, while they were in Italy, there was basically a fight breaking out close to, and I believe it was during the Lambo fight, they were explaining, there was a fight breaking out close to where the knight lived in his big old mansion, okay? You know, these mafia dons, they got big places, okay? They got big places of all that blood and betrayal money. Yeah, they got big mansions, okay? It's not a mafia without like a big place to live in. So now we start off the chapter of 112, where knowing that Imitsu is the I forgot the name, the executive, right? Basically second hand. If anything happens to the boss, he takes over and he's in charge, right? So then he has his underlings who's fighting, and might I add, it's family members against family members, not blood related, but basically those who were working with each other, all of this, now they're fighting each other. So Oregano and then some other guy who's under Imitsu, basically his workers, are fighting comrades. You know, none of them were expecting that like all of this would have took place. And mind you, this is all due to Zanzis versus Tsuna for the sake of getting permission to wear the rings and be acknowledged as the next boss of the Vongola, right? So it's family member against family, it's co-worker versus co-worker, people getting shot, people dying, there's explosions happening. So they're talking about how they're saying Imitsu already got into the inner layers of the mansion, trying to get close to the knight to go find him and protect him. Now this is where we're introduced to another character, which, might I add, keep this particular character in mind. Do not forget about them because they're going to make a reappearance. So while Oregano and her co-worker are talking about how they're going to try to find ways to, you know, get inside, talking about how there's a liberate, you know, they're mafia, right? So they don't want just anybody be able to find their place or get inside. So there's a lot of hideouts, a lot of secret places in order to get into the inner part of the mansion. So even if you was to get through the outer parts of the area, to get inside is another thing, because there's a lot of pathways, a lot of secret pathways. So while that is the case, we have this character by the name of Lao Merch, who frankly looks very similar to Reborn and Colonello. She's also a Arcabaleno, but there's something very off about her, right? So she's telling Oregano and her partner that Imitsu got into the innermost part of the mansion, and he's making his way beeline for the ninth. And you know, they're praising Lao merch and thank you for, you know, updating us and everything, and give it to you to the Arca Beneleno. But then she's like, that's a name, don't mock me, that's a name that I cannot live up to. And then when you look at her pacifier compared to like Reborn's or even Colonello's, it looks kind of weird. Like they have a dark circle in theirs, right? Hers look like it's misty. And then you see this scar on her face. Now, again, like I said, pay attention to her character. She does make a reappearance later on in the story, okay? She does, okay? So now we have it where Imitsu's now inside the mansion, getting closer to the ninth, and then we have other people attacking, trying to attack him. He attacks him back with bombs, and then he finds one of the secret highways, which is inside a picture, so there was a wall in between, behind it. He finds the ninth, but the ninth looks a little off, because if you remember in a few chapters ago, when Reborn showed Tsuna who the ninth is, he looked like a very sweet elderly man. He looks like someone's grandpa, right? He doesn't look like he's part of the mafia. He doesn't look like he'll harm anybody. But when Imitsu finds him, the speech bubble one is dark. So that's signifying this man, there's something very ominous about him, right? And then he's acting, what is this disturbance? And then he calls out for it. He's saying Imitsu. He's sitting in the chair, looking very dark, looking, you know, like this is the boss. Okay. Then he's talking about, you know, he's been waiting for a long time, that this disease prevents him from getting up and really moving around too much, and I haven't seen your face in a long time. Why don't you come closer to me? And like a typical mafia, Imitsu making sure that nobody's around, he put down the gun. Then he walks up to the boss, kneels down, and then the boss leaves the hand, and then, you know, you kiss the hand or showing signify that you're showing your loyalty, you know, typical mafia stuff, okay? And then it ends on that panel. So it's very to be wary of that, because again, it's two completely different people. If you remember back in the chapters, I would say go back to like chapter 100 or something like that, when Tsuna was training with Reborn, and I believe it was before the Gokudera fight. And the picture he got from Reborn showed a completely different man versus this. So probably during that time duration, before even the Varia came to Japan, all of them, probably Zansus did something to the ninth that no one is aware of. Okay, not until he gave that signal that he may or may not have done something to the knight, and clearly this is showing something, or something happened. But this clearly does not seem to be the same person that Tsuna saw in that picture a couple of chapters ago. So now we get to back in Japan, where Tsuna is training. He's training to control the 0-point breakthrough technique, okay? He's not moving. He's basically doing a Gohan that was trying to go into mystic force, right? He was just sitting down trying to gather his energy and everything. So we have it where the next battle, of course, that we know of right after the rain battle is the mist battle, but we don't know who is Tsuna's mist guardian. Of course, we know Hibari is one of the guardians, but we don't know particularly if he is the mist or the cloud guardian. Of course, they do get to that by the end of the chapter, in which I'm going to get to very shortly. So Colonello is also there watching as Tsuna is training for the 0-point breakthrough, and honestly, he and Reborn is always butting heads anytime they see each other. So while that's happening, they're also talking about Mamon, who's another Arca Beleno. So within this chapter, we have 4 Arca Belenos. We have Lao Merch, who was just introduced. Of course, we were introduced to Skull during Lambo, when they were trying to hunt down Lambo with Leviton. Obviously, Reborn and Colonel was actually the second in the series that we know of. So they're talking about Mamon, and they don't know whether he's an Arca Beleno or not, because how to tell they are is that their pacifiers, when they get close to each other to signify that they are one, it starts to glow. But for some reason, Mamon's own doesn't. And this is where they get like, is he doing something, or something happened to him for it not to glow? They don't know the reason as to why, but Mamon is very mysterious. But overall, if you see characters like them walking around, obviously they have to be an arc millennial, but it begs the question of why doesn't Mamon's pacifier, why doesn't it glow? Or why when they get close to him, there's no reaction, right? So that's a question up in the air. But then they go into a question, because Mamon is the Mist Guardian for the Varya, but now this snaps Tsuna out of his concentration, because he's like, okay, the Varya has their Mist Guardian. Reborn, you know who are Mist, and the thing is, Reborn knows who are Mist, for Tsuna's side of the playing field, knows who's Tsuna Mist Guardian, and he knows who's the Cloud Guardian. Again, we have Hibari on Tsuna's side, but we don't know which one he is. We don't know if he's the Mist or the Cloud. And Reborn knows, but he's just not telling Tsuna, because his reasons for, if I tell you this, you won't pay attention to your training. But Tsuna refutes and saying, by you not telling me, it's going to cause me to worry. So instead, Reborn is saying, you know what, how about this? You go and get us some juice, get off this mountain, go get us some juice, get some for Colonel, and cool down your head. Tsuna's just like, this is not helping with the training, and I'm worrying about all of this. So he's reflecting back on like everyone that's been injured on his side, from Ryohei to Lambo to Gokudera and to Yamamoto. Like, this situation is just getting worse and worse and worse, because everyone is getting injured, everyone's life is on the line, and now he's here worrying about who the hell is this Mist Guardian? Who is this person that Reborn is talking about that he has no clue of? And on top of that, while he's going down the mountain, he sees scratch mark on the tree bark. He's thinking it's a wild animal. So he eventually reaches onto public area, into like a street vendor and all that stuff. And while he's there, he notices a particular type of student. This student has the Kyoko uniform, right? He has this particular type of uniform. Oh, might I add, before all of that happens, we had it where they went back to the Varya. The panels went to the Varya, right? And then we have it where Mamon comes into the room, and then he's asking Zanzis permission to use this particular type of power. Now everybody's asking in the room, why are you going to waste your power on these kids? Like, you're trying to go all out, trying to show off. But Mamon is saying that, like, the reason why I want to use this particular power that I've been holding back is because if I don't use it as often, it's going to get rusty. Okay, so that tells you he's holding himself back until this match actually happens. So this is where Zanzis gives him the okay. So this may be also a highlighted reason as to why Reborn and Colonello are trying to guess why they can't feel nothing, or nothing is happening whenever they get close to Mamon, given the fact that he is an Arcanbaleno. But Mamon may be the reason as to why particularly nothing is happening, no reaction, no nothing, no pacifiers glowing or anything of that sort. He's holding himself back for a reason. Okay, so again, it goes back to Tsuna. He reaches the street, he sees a Kyoko uniform, and he realizes it's Chikusa. Chikusa and Ken are there. They were trying to order some fruit and gum and all that stuff, and they see him. He sees them, and it makes you think, okay, weren't these guys arrested by the Vendis all the way back in the Kyoko arc? How and when did they break out? Because the Vendis is basically the top force within all of the mafia world. They are the law. They set the laws for the mafia. You break them and these guys are on you. Okay, these guys hunt you down, chain you up, and then take you. Okay, because you broke laws. They are the law. So it makes you think, how did they break out? And if they broke out, or they got pardoned, or whatever, you don't know. Tsuna faints because he's like, how is this possible? That means the scratch marks that he saw on the tree bark was Ken. Okay, Tsuna faints. So this makes you think, did they do another breakout like they did originally back in the Kyoko? Because originally they were arrested and they were in mafia prison, And then they broke out and did all that they did at Namimori Middle School with the, you know, the breaking of the teeth and you know, trying to count down to get to Tsuna, and led to that whole thing, first major arc of the series. And now they broke out of prison again. And that makes you think, okay, that means Mukuro broke out. Now, they do get to a point in the panel where they're like, oh, if Hibari finds him, if they cross paths, it's going to be a problem, right? It's going to be a problem. And it got to where Reborn even said he told who's the Miss Guardian, and it's Mukuro. Because if that he came to the scene, and he's telling them, you know, it's been a while, and they're telling him, he's telling them, like, soon as Miss Guardian went to go see Hibari. And then that's where Reborn is just like, oh, if they cross paths, you know, it's not gonna end well. It's gonna be basically a problem. And so Mukuro walks past, or at least we think it is, in a shadowy figure, and he's telling Hibari as he's passing him, is that it's been a long time, you have gotten even more stronger again. And then this is where Hibari turns around to see who it is, but no one is there. So you mean to tell me Reborn recruited Mukuro? He recruited Mukuro as soon as Miss Guardian, right? Because Chikusen can be out there like that if Mukuro ain't out. They broke out of Vendi's prison, and he recruited Mukuro as the Miss Guardian, meaning that by next chapter, because it's within the same night, next chapter is going to be the start of the Miss Guardian battle, and you got a criminal to fight another criminal, or a family member, or something like that. You beat two criminals, right? This is why Tsuna is stressing. This is why Tsuna is just like, bro, I can't calm down at all. Yo, this is too much for me to have this all on my head, all on my plate. You literally got the guy who tried to murder me. The guy who beat up several people in my school to get to me. It would make you think, what the heck is Reborn thinking? Because, no, really, think about it. Reborn took the person who tried to kill Tsuna, okay? Purposely tried to take the person that tried to kill Tsuna in the beginning of the series. Was fighting everybody, taking their teeth as a countdown. Used Futa. Manipulated and used poor Futa, a little 9-year-old, to scope out the strongest kids in Namimori till he got to Tsuna. Made everyone, when they got to the park, the abandoned amusement park, got everyone injured. Stabbed Bianchi. Remember Gokudera in the chest? Every time in the chest. He manipulated and used even his two friends to do his dirty work till their bodies were breaking down. You got him to help me. And then it makes you think, how the heck, it still is funny, because how the heck did they manage to get away from the Vendis? Because if the Vendis is the upholders for Mafia law, right? They've been there since when the Mafia was created, since the beginning of Angola, right? I believe they explained that during the Kyoka arc. And you shouldn't question them, right? If you try to, it's going to be a problem. How did Mukuro, Ken, and Chikusa manage to escape? And it makes you wonder if MM and any of the others were able to escape too, you know? So the fact that he recruited him as Tsuna's Miss Guardian, I can assume probably he has something in exchange. Of course he cares about Tsuna at the end of the day, don't get me wrong. Reborn cares, but it's just like I can understand for first time readers or watchers that this may seem very sketchy of Reborn, because it's just like this was the same one who wanted to use Tsuna's body for his own biddings to corrupt and destroy the government and the mafia world, okay, and then take over. That was originally Mukuro. And if he managed to get his way through and Tsuna never awoken and used hyper dying will mode and all of that stuff, he would have got away with what he wanted initially. You know, he was the very first villain Tsuna ever had to come across who wanted to end his life. The first major arc of the series, and this is the second major one. So it's just it's very mind-boggling. And of course Tsuna fainted because he's just like, there's no way, like, you're here, he's looking at Ken, and then he's looking at Chikusa, knowing what these two in particular did. And then it got to the point in the manga where he again is like, if the Mist Guardian, which is obviously Mukuro, butts up into Hibari, there's going to be some problem, which they actually did. So he's walking past Hibari, and then he realizes, he's like, oh, it's been a long time since I've seen you, got stronger again as expected. And then Hibari turns around to wondering who the heck was talking to him, but he did not see the figure anymore. Of course, the panel shows that, like, as Hibari is walking and he's kind of questioning, like, who the heck was that, the figure is still there, you know. So it's Mamon versus Mukuro, a criminal versus a criminal. And then you wonder why Tsuna is stressing at age 14. He should be stressing about his grades and getting the girl he likes, Kyoko, to actually notice him as a romantic interest. But no, he's wondering about, how the heck am I going to survive this? How am I going to be able to sleep at night? If I don't win this, my entire family and friends are all dead. And then the whole thing that's happening in Italy, again, with Imitsu, Imitsu and the Ninth, is particularly with the Ninth, it's very strange because then again, I know it's a picture, but to see how, unless it is his illness that's making him look that airy and all that stuff, but something very ominous about the way he was talking to Imitsu, and then the picture again that was shown to Tsuna, clearly two different people that we're dealing with. Clearly two different people, and it makes you wonder if it's not the sickness that he has, is it something that Zanzis did to him in particular that caused him to be like this, and then caused whatever inner conflict within the family, okay, where co-workers, comrades, basically people who used to work good together are now fighting and killing each other. Just complete chaos on the other side of things. And then we have where again Lao Merch, who she's also an archibeleno, but there's something very weird about her because one, she has a scar. The anime obviously made it look like it was like a face tattoo, but it's obviously a scar. And her pacifier looks very dark, very mystifying compared to Colonellos and Reborns. And obviously, even though we can tell that Mamon is an archibeleno, we don't know particularly why he's hiding that fact, or what is he particularly hiding, because again, for them to acknowledge that you are one, their pacifiers start to glow. So the fact that his never glow makes him think he's hiding something. Okay, so there was a lot of surprises, a lot of things that has you questioning. And by next chapter, because it is later that night in the chapter, later that night come next chapter, is going to be the battle of the Mist Guardians. So obviously it's going to be Mamon versus Mukuro, and then more likely they'll explain the reason as to why they can't get a read on Mamon, as well as hopefully by next chapter they show a little bit more of what's happening in Italy with Imitsu and the Ninth. Hopefully he's able to help the Ninth. How is Tsuna going to deal with Mukuro being his Mist Guardian? So that leaves with, and obviously the end of this chapter literally tells you what Hibari is. Hibari is the cloud guardian, because if Mukuro's the mist, which was the two guardians that Tsuna was missing for the whole time, if Mukuro's the mist, that means obviously Hibari is the cloud guardian. Okay, so guys, do tell me in the comment section below on how you felt about chapter 112 of Katekyo Hitman REBORN. Do you expect seeing the knight looking like that at all? How do you feel about Loud Merch? Again, like I said, keep her in mind, keep a watch out for her, because she does make another reappearance in the series as well. And also she with her pacifier, they'll go into explanation about that later on, as well as how do you feel about Mukuro being Tsuna's Mist Guardian? Do you think Reborn was wrong for that? Knowing what Mukuro put Tsuna through, do you think Reborn was wrong for recruiting him and putting him on his side? How do you think Tsuna's going to feel once he comes across Mukuro once more? The links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. I'm Kimmy-chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye! With